right, hey guys. Some of you that are checking me out on the internet, that haven't actually met me in person, just want to give you a little bit of a heads up, kind of my testimony. All right, what led me to this point, why I'm a pastor. So I grew up in the church. Always been a United Methodist. Boscoville United Methodist Church was my home church. I grew up going to Sunday school. Doing the big thing in my life was Lake Lucerne. Was the camps. Every summer I went to camps, junior high live, senior high live, little kids camps. Did some time counseling there. Really, really cool place. And mission trips. Once Pastor Stan hit Boscoville, we started doing mission trips like crazy. I was his first crew. And so I grew up in the church. But growing up, I knew, let's say I knew, I was very conflicted. I enjoyed the ministry. I liked doing that stuff. But I was also a hands-on, loved to farm, and also wanted to join the service. So didn't exactly know how and what I was going to do. But when I was 17, I kind of had my moment that led me into the ministry for sure. But to take you back to when I was younger, when I first gave my life to Christ, I tell people this and they have a hard time believing because I was so young. But I was very young, and a friend of mine, one of my best friends, older brother, okay, his guy was only 16 years old, and he was allowed to speak in church, and he gave the sermon that Sunday. And it's the whole Timothy thing. Don't be afraid if you're too young to preach the gospel. Jeremy Updike was his name. He preached the gospel. I was 7 years old, and I went up, and I remember kneeling down to the altar and giving my life to Christ. Now, at 7 years old, I didn't really understand what was going on, but something happened there, and I knew it happened. Now we fast forward till I was 17, and I'm down at Lake Lucerne, and we'd had a really cool chapel. We'd been hanging out there, and something as I left that chapel, I just knew that I was being called into ministry. So as I left, it was kind of like a somber event, after we left, and I went down and I sat on the gift shop front step, and I just kind of sat there and hung out. And as I was hanging there, Vicky Strupp, who was a counselor and now is another pastor with me, she showed up and she said, "Lance, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm supposed to come and tell you that you're supposed to go into ministry." So that was when I was 17-year-old. I hadn't told anyone, as I just went and sat on that step there thinking, man, is God calling me into ministry? And then this counselor comes. I hadn't shared this with anyone. The counselor comes walking up to me. He says, "Hey, Lance, I think you're supposed to be called into ministry." So that was kind of my call into ministry. Now I was 17, so I was junior going into my senior year. Now, once I hit my senior year of high school, my plan was I was going to get through school. I had joined the National Guard, the infantry, and throughout my senior year, I went to drill on the weekends, but I hadn't went to basic. And I wasn't scheduled to go to basic till October 22nd of 2003. And that was because my brother Travis was going to get married in September, and I wanted to be there for his wedding. So after I graduated high school, I went off and was working at the neighbor's farm. And I was working at the neighbor's farm, and my plan was I'd work there right up until I shipped out to basic. Once I went to basic, I'd get done with my basic around Christmas time. I'd go off to AIT in that January. And over Christmas, I was going to propose to Emily. I was only 19 at the time, but I was going to do it anyway. And my plan was the National Guard would pay for my schooling then to go to the University of Dubuque, where I did plan on pursuing the ministry career. But I was still joining the National Guard. I was infantry, and my AIT, I was going to go ahead and do air assault, and I was going to be a saw gunner. Okay, that was my plans for my life. Likewise, when I got off to college, I was going to play football. I wasn't that great of an athlete, but I thought I was. It was a D3 school, so I was going to walk on. And that was my life plans. But after I graduated, went and I was working on the neighbor's farm. And one day, September 7th, this changed. I'm sorry. September 7th, I jumped ahead here. So I had mentioned my wife, Emily. We have been together since September 7th. 1999. We were 13 years old when we started dating. I'm 37 now, so do the math. We've been together a long time. So my wife, even back then, was part of my plans going off into the ministry and into the service. And that's why I was going National Guard. The wife told me no to active service. But anyway, so while I was working over at the neighbor's farm on September 30th of 2003, I was filling corn silage. And here's what I was doing. For those of you that don't know how the farm works, I was the only guy that was unloading loads and hauling them out to the field and getting a new load. So while I was sitting there unloading, you have one tractor here, another tractor here, a wagon behind you, and then the blower, the International 56 blower, and you'll see the picture of it. And as you can see this in the picture, I was trying to get the load unloaded and back out to the field before my uncle got done chopping. Now my uncle, Chet Wetter, amazing guy, great guy, but Chet has one speed, okay? And if there's the speed of a sloth, okay, he's somewhere in there. Wonderful guy, low gear, second with the torque. That's how he rolls. So if you get behind Chet while you're hauling and unloading, you're just slow. So I was all 19, you know, young and dumb, and in a huge hurry. The wagon, as you see in the picture, there's 3 gears run by one drive chain, and that runs the beaters as the web pulls all the corn silage forward to hit the auger to run into the blower. Those beaters, that chain kept popping off. There's just a little set screw with an Allen wrench. Well, it popped off, and I ran around behind it, and I sat there, and I put the set screw back on. And about the 3rd time that it came off, I was getting frustrated because I was going to get behind Chet. So in a hurry, I threw it on, and the irony is, you know, I had to use an Allen wrench, which is now what I use to keep my leg together. So I always have an Allen wrench close by me in one of the vehicles. And had that Allen wrench in my, ended up having it in my jacket pocket that went to the ER anyway. So I finished this, and in a hurry, I jumped up on the blower. Okay, now in the picture you see on the screen, there isn't a whole lot of room there. Our blower was set up a little bit different. But I stepped up on the back side of it, and I was 19, okay? You're dumb. A lot of things haven't changed for me. Some people age, and they get wiser, but whatever. I was 19 and dumb. I stood up on the edge of it. There's the old movie you guys remember, heard it's being remade, White Man Can't Jump. That's true. I hopped up on the edge. I tried jumping across that blower. Now, there's a kill switch. There's a lever to shut that off right there. I didn't hit it. Don't know why. I jumped across that blower. I had a pitchfork in my hand, and the pitchfork went through. It was about a 9 to 12 inch auger, and I don't know, it's probably going around about 3,000 revolutions per minute. I mean, it's really screaming, okay? And when my feet, they hit the edge of the pan as it goes out, I slid in. So I was faced kind of to the north there. My feet slid in. The pitchfork went through. You kind of see the pipe on the blower. That runs up the top of the silo. The head of the pitchfork busted out a chunk of the section of the pipe at the top of the silo. It sucked my boots off of me. I had just bought brand new boots. Luckily, a trade of mine is I'm kind of a cheapskate, and I had bought really cheap $20 Walmart boots, and they just exploded. It peeled right off me. They sucked my boots through the blower. Ended up, Raleigh Martin actually found my boots in March. The next year, it plugged up the silo unloader, and we have both of them. I have them as a keepsake. And so it pulled my boots off me, and as I was sitting there in the blower, that auger's going so fast, it's like dropping something in on a blender. My feet were just kind of chopping like that. Now, I was faced to the north. I've said that 3 times now. If I'd have continued that way, it would have just ground up my feet, and it would have walked right in me. Somehow, by nothing other than the grace of God, I got spun around to the south, facing the opposite direction. As I was faced to the south, my legs started to go into the blower. Thank God for old football injuries. When my legs started to go in, there's kind of a bar about this high, and it hit my thigh, and my knee blew out, just disintegrated my knee. And when it did that, I fell backwards. And as I fell backwards, remember, I turned complete 360. Now I fell backwards out of it, and it popped my feet out of the blower. Well, I looked down, and I'm 19 at this time. I looked down. I saw just a little piece of bone sticking out. I didn't know what it was. Even though I was young and dumb, I was wise enough not to really look at it, go into shock. And I looked at my feet, and I didn't look anymore. And that feeling came over me of, my life's done. I was 23 days from shipping out to Fort Benning. The military is something I really wanted to do. I wanted to play football. I was afraid that Emily at the time would leave me. So the first thing that crossed my mind was, let's get this over with. Now I am, for lack of a better term, quite a redneck. Always had a gun in my vehicle. And I had my 12 gauge sitting in my work car, which if this was the actual picture, it would be right in front of the second tractor hooked up to the blower. It was only about 15 feet away. My 12 gauge was in there and fully loaded because I was shooting pigeons. The thought crossed my mind was blow my head off. Get it over with. I was 19. Life was over to me. The moment that I said that, something just kind of came over me, and I screamed out, my God, help me. And when I screamed that out, I still get chills. I talk to you now if you can see the goosebumps. Something came over me, and I decided I'm not going down without a fight.